What's up, guys? Welcome to the video. So this is another podcast style video with Kate Abate. So she's very insightful, very wise, and we just kind of go back and forth and banter and see what things we agree upon and which ones we disagree upon. And I didn't put everything in, but I did make sure to timestamp every subject that we talk about. So if you guys do want to skip around and see what you want to take from this video, you can skip right to those pieces. And I hope that you enjoy it. Let me know if you like these style of videos. It's kind of more like Joe Rogan-esque. I know that's very much an acquired taste for me, and a lot of other people like to see my fitness videos or my food videos or advice videos, but this is a little bit different. It's very beneficial for me to just talk through things, and I think it is for her too. So hope you like this video. Physically like it, thank you, and then hit subscribe because we are like 90 away from 1,000, and that's a big milestone for me. So thank you guys for being here. I love you, and I will see you guys on Friday. What I think of when I think of money, because that's been my biggest hurdle, is like, okay, those are all positive things, and it's like, okay, well, what have I been told since I was little? What are things that come to mind? And like having like a very Christian family, money's the root of all evil. You only need what you need. You only need to be sufficient. You don't need abundance. Like you have everything that you need, so you don't need more.
It's easier to get through the eye of the for a camel to get through the eye of the needle than for a rich man to go to heaven.
I've never heard that one, but that's a good one too.
That's from the Bible. That's not from me. That's where that comes from. It's that's where that. So you're identifying memes, right? Mm-hmm. A meme is a virus of the mind. So that's like where we get that thing. This is nothing I ever say is like, oh, Kate. I mean, sometimes I'll say something original, but like nothing is from me, right? Like I was listening to this book on tape and it's talking about memes, and a meme is a virus of the mind. And it's things that we've been told over and over and over and over again, and we subconsciously buy into them. And until we have a conversation with the subconscious and address each meme, and really ask ourselves, is that true? Is anything true? I mean, truth is, that's a whole other philosophical discussion about what is true. But is that true? Is it true that it's easier for a man to, for a camel to get through the eye of the needle than for a man to get, wealthy man to get to heaven? No. Mm-hmm. For me, no. For, some people, maybe. But I totally understand, and I think you're identifying a lot of themes right now. One, you are addressing memes. You're trying to address your relationship with the concept of money and what money is, and that's very difficult. And I think it's very, very hidden beneath the surface, because we're told if you're not growing, if you're not productive, right? If you're not doing something, if you're not making all this money, then that's your value. Mm-hmm. What is your value, right? And if we identify ourselves with what we do and what we own, then when those things change, we have no identity. Mm-hmm. And then you feel like you're worth less than you were before. You lose your job, and then you're not worth as much. That's not true, though. Right. Because that's not who you are. You're this beautiful, infinite, boundless spirit. Mm-hmm. And you have all the energy in the world to be able to create what it is that you are. And contrary to these memes, it has nothing to do with what you produce or the monetary impact of your credit score or your bank statement. And there's actually a very new paradigm that's unfolding right now called, it's DLT, but it's better known as blockchain technology, which is going to outgrow the whole credit and banking situation that we're currently in right now. And that's a technology thing, right? So the memes that we've been inundated with are relevant to the level and to the stage in technology in which we were raised. Mm-hmm. So now as technology changes, there's an opportunity to readdress and to refocus and there's always been an opportunity to change your relationship with those memes and to say, whoa, that's a meme. Maybe it works for me, maybe it doesn't, but I'm going to identify myself and my self-worth in my relationship, right? And I think that's another theme that I'm seeing it's common. It's when two people are together, it's what am I bringing to the relationship, and then over what cross sections of life does this relationship span? Is this a business relationship? Is this a personal relationship? Is this a athletic relationship? Is this a companionship relationship? I mean, there's all different types of relationships you can have. And it's up to you and to Brian, but singularly up to you first, without even knowing Brian or thinking of Brian, to determine what kind of relationship architecture you want to have with your partner.
Right.
And it could be that, and as you go through different stages of the relationship, that could change. But to try to imagine, okay, what kind of relationship am I looking for? What is fulfilling to my soul? And what is fulfilling to my soul for me to be giving, right? I think it's always easier to look at from the perspective of what am I giving to this relationship, and is that fulfilling me? That is helpful sometimes.
I would agree. I think that's another thing to identify as well, because I have personally felt like I haven't been giving to the relationship. So I think that's where I am challenging myself, is like I need to grow so that I can actually contribute to the relationship.
Sure.
And more than just like being a rock for him, more than like just being there, but to actually be able to give more to him. Not everything, but just more.
I think that's a beautiful place to be. I also would say, because Miss Silver Lining wants to always see silver lining in things, let's also take a step back and look at, often, let's look at from his perspective. When he's giving to you, he gets a certain amount of fulfillment from that. And people have needs in relationships at different times. It's not always that we're in sync. And that would be quite awful if we were always in sync, because if Mark and I always needed at the same time, then there might be a lack of the ability to give. Whereas if one person is needing and the other person has the capacity to give, that's a partnership. Guess what? I don't know where I'm going. I'm very lost, and I think I'll always be lost. That's why we're called searchers, right? Those of us who are looking for some deeper meaning in things. And some people don't care about that, and that's okay. But there are those of us who are very curious about the state of being and the state of life. And I don't think you'll ever not feel a little lost if
that is true.
If those are your passions, right? If you're curious about life, I don't think you'll ever be like, I got it. I'm solved. I know where I'm going, right? Another great quote by Carl Jung is, if the path before you is clear, you're probably on someone else. And that really hits me, because I this year also have been going through periods of very, I'll say, intense feelings of loss, of feeling lost.
Of this year, of
2017. Well, yeah, I mean, yes, I think when you have clearly defined goals, it's helpful, but sometimes those goals are not deep enough, and they're not fulfilling enough, and that you don't find, and that could be a hint that you're not on your right path for finding your purpose. Whoa, that was close. Or it could be, again, we talked about last time how feelings of frustration can be a good, helpful, neurological feedback mechanism that you are on the right path and you're going in the right direction, and you're just getting some feedback from the resistance that you're facing, which is good. I just think it's a good sign that you're questioning all these things at such a deep level.
Well, I feel like you have to. Like, if you don't, I always tell my clients that, like, trying to teach mindfulness is easy, but then actually practicing it is the hard part. It's like I can tell person XYZ to go like meditate and write affirmations, but until I do that in hopes, and same with myself, and you probably too, I do that in hopes that they will tap into that a little bit further. Like I try to get myself and someone else in a situation where they're quiet, they're alone, and then maybe they start thinking about other things, and then that leads into more mindfulness. So like if I'm trying to break down some part of my psyche, I gotta like get in it.
You have to get in
like all in it. Like tears have to come.
Wayne Dyer talks about this, and he says that it's part of removing excuses from your life is you have to have conversations with your subconscious, and that's
a good one.
hard, right? I mean, Carl Jung says that which, and I'm going to butcher this quote, but he's saying you know, until you make your subconscious conscious, it will continue to arrive in your life as fate. And that, I think, is absolutely true. And so then Wayne Dyer takes that a step further and says, okay, so to act on that, right, the behavior that's required from that is to have the conversation with the subconscious. But just as you said, it's easy to teach people mindfulness. I don't really agree. I think it's easy to suggest mindfulness to people, but to have someone be, so we're all ready at certain times and at different times in our lives to, and usually it takes something devastating, some type of loss, some type of grief, something where you feel lost, you feel at a loss, and you're like, there has to be something more to this. I have to tap in below the surface, and then maybe they're ready to have that mindfulness conversation and say, okay, now I'm ready. Because you can sit and write affirmations, but if you don't see it in your mind's eye, like clearly, vividly, crystal clear, what you're writing, and if you don't believe that it's true,
It's just gonna.
it's a waste of your time.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and I think it takes, at least it takes me a long time to be ready. Like, I have to first do it in my mind. I really have to see it in my mind and think about what I want and think about all the possibilities that whatever that thing could be, right? And then I can get to the state of being like, okay, I'm ready to write that down and to really concretize that. But to go, you know, downstream and say, I'm just going to write things down and they're going to come true, it's like,
It doesn't work.
I don't think it happens that way.
Yeah, I mean, you wish it did. I've definitely done that, and it's obviously not worked for certain things. But you can tell, like, that's another hard thing to find. It's not hard, but I guess it is. It's a challenge to find the balance between, like, writing a goal that's, like, real, that you're gonna get, like, in X amount of time, or like, or just writing something because you feel like that's a good goal to have. Like, if I were to write, like, a monetary goal of $100,000,
Right.
or something, versus, like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to sit down and think about the path that I'm going to take to get there, even if that doesn't, like, end up being, like, the perfect path or whatever, but versus just writing something to write it and telling yourself that it's gonna happen, it's true, but not feeling it, like, deep. And I don't know.
Right, I think the depth is really important, but I think the two could be married. I think you could easily find the depth
within any goal, I suppose.
Right, I mean, a lot of the greats say it's not about, the how is so much less important than, you know, the what, or the you know, what it is that you're looking for. And if, you know, like Lou Tice is one of my favorites, all-time favorites, and he says, just change the picture in your mind and then relax. Change the picture in your mind and then relax. Because as soon as you start to try to push that goal, you're going to stress yourself out because you're still in cognitive dissonance, right? Your reality, your mental image and your reality are not aligned yet. Mm-hmm. And so you're going to keep finding resistance, right? And so one of the first things that you said today about your relationship was that, or it was really a relationship with money, was that you need to grow. And I'm not disagreeing, but I think if we change the way we're addressing ourselves, and this is not from Kate's mind, this is, you know, borrowed wisdom, but if you say, I want to grow, then, like, because as soon as we tell ourselves, I need to, I have to, we slow down. We immediately put up a resistance to that because that causes stress, because we're acknowledging that we're not currently doing it. So there's something in the mind and something in the reality that are not meshing. So that's the cognitive dissonance. And so it creates a stress around the situation of, I need to clean my room right now, or else. And it's that or else. And so then we ask ourselves, well, what's or else? And then we tend to do that because we just slow down because we get that resistance. Whereas if you say, I want to get to the gym by 8 p.m., then you're like, oh, that's much more exciting and that's much better than I need to get to the gym by 8 p.m.
That's interesting because I feel like that's totally dependent on how you operate, which can always change. But, like, if you operate better under, like, the pressure of I need to do this, I need to create a necessity, versus like, because you read different things from different people, but like the affirmative, I already have this because I want it and I have it, that's exciting too. But then depending on like how you operate as a person, the urgency of I need to do this or else I will be unfulfilled and unhappy. It depends on the situation, but like I feel like for me with certain things, I have to create that intense necessity of needing it or I will like die to be able to do it. And so it's like back and forth.
And that's not uncommon, but it is a negative motivation. Mm-hmm. And so the universe, if the universe is an echo, the universe the universe is all, right? Again, our wisdom. The universe is infinite. Mm-hmm. So if you're asking the universe to fill something that's lacking, it's going to keep showing up as lacking because it doesn't recognize lacking. It's all. It's infinite. It's everything. It's unity. So if you are instead saying, return me to my abundance, then the universe will say, yes, like this is, I am abundance. I recognize abundance. You're receiving your abundance. Whereas if it's, I need to have more money, then you're really saying, I don't have enough, and I need more, and that's again
that I agree with.
So if we go a little downstream, right? And this is hard for me too because I've always negatively motivated myself to do things, and so it's a really deep rewiring of self that's required to all of a sudden start realizing accountability comes from making choices, and making choices comes from recognizing that we don't gotta do nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's not about freedom. It is about freedom ultimately, but it's not about rebelling against society as much as it's rewiring the deep self to actually go toward goals without the resistance. Because the negative motivation, and we see a lot of this in fitness, right? There's a lot of negative motivation that we tell ourselves about body image. And then there's a lot of backsliding too. It's uncommon that people reach their weight and then stay there, like their goal weight, whatever it is. But then they slip back because they didn't, and I'm not indicting anyone, they didn't reprogram themselves to say, I want to be at that weight, and I will be happier at that weight, and I'm going to do whatever I need to do to be at that weight. I need to be at that weight, I need to fit into that dress, or else people are going to look at me weird and blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of, again, that anytime we're pronouncing a negative affirmation, that's what's going to keep showing up.
Like if you want to advance your knowledge, like you're going to invest in a college course or in a course or in buying a material book or something. You're not going to be like pissed at yourself for buying a book or investing in a course,
right?
Or going to college,
use it
unless you don't. Guilty, but yeah, you're not gonna like. There's certain like social constructs that are more like for some reason are more acceptable. Because if you want something and you grab it because you do this to get there, you're not gonna be mad at yourself for going to college or for taking a class. So if you want to get on stage, you shouldn't be mad at yourself for going to do the things that you have to do every day, like that.
Or get mad at the things.
Or the things. I mean, yeah, it's more the things. Yeah, exactly. And same with like, if I want to grow, I shouldn't be like stressed or upset about investing in a coach or like in a mastermind or whatever it is, or a course in this case.
It does require stepping back and saying, okay, this is the path that has been charted by the others before me, and they seem to be doing pretty well. So I could mimic exactly what they're doing, and it's possible that I'll get comparable results. But is that not slightly similar to sitting down in the park and writing affirmations in which you don't truly believe? I think the first step is just questioning it and just looking to see if there's anything else. Don't go spend years looking for an alternative to cardio. I mean, you could do kettlebell complexes instead, and you could eat less instead.
Yeah.
There are things you can do. I mean, you know, like there are people with injuries who have to lose weight, and it's very possible to lose weight without doing cardio, right? It's possible to get lean without doing cardio. There are other options. You could do a hell of a lot of TRX. You could dance. I mean, that's a version of cardio. But it's more about outgrowing and looking at the whole spectrum and saying, am I really being authentic to my ability to be creative here in this moment? And yes, those things have worked for them, but there was a time, everything that has now been proven was once imagined.